So I have my lovely client Jessica with me to talk about our journey and the journey that you've come on. Thank you for being with me today.
So happy to be here. Couldn't
So,
think of a better place to be.
oh, you're so sweet. You're such a light. I'm just so grateful the universe brought us together to do some healing. And so, of course, we've been on a journey this year, and I'm really curious for you to share what were you struggling with before you reached out for support?
So I think like when I started, if you had asked me what I was struggling with, my answer would have been, oh, I'm struggling with losing weight. I'm struggling with feeling just like tired all the time and puffy. But I think like internally, the real answer was that I was struggling with binge eating and food addiction and um, a perfectionist mentality that was really holding me captive in pretty much every area of my life. And it's just not easy to know about yourself or admit out loud because it can be really scary to deal with. So I think, yeah, that's my main struggle when we began starting to work together was that. So
And what specifically prompted you to reach out to me?
So I found you through another lovely podcast. And one of the things that I really liked about you was just your openness to hearing like different stories and that not everything fit into a box. I had gone to see a doctor maybe 6 months before we started working together to get my hormones tested and was told that everything was fine. And it just made me feel like I was going crazy. And one of the things that I really appreciated once I found your podcast and started listening to it over and over again was everything you were saying just kept hitting me in a different place in my life. Whether it was focus, lack of energy, inflammation. I bought and did a couple of your classes, which were fantastic. So I knew that I needed to see you probably like 6 months before I did, but wouldn't have had it any other way.
Mhm. Divine timing, 100%. And how did this support help you deal with and overcome the binge eating?
Yeah. So one of the things that I really appreciated about your program was that you took that issue for me and made it just as important as all the other things. It wasn't like one was greater than the other. It was important that everything was like working in harmony, right? So um I think some of the biggest stuff was just having a space to talk about it freely. I think like especially with binge eating, any eating disorder, um, you know, can make you feel like private or scared to share. But I think especially binge eating, there's a lot of stigma just around like a shame complex around that is really hard to talk about. So having a safe space to discuss it, and then also having you explain to me that a lot of the things we put in our bodies specifically made to make us have these feelings of addiction or like, oh, I have to have this, cravings, and understanding that what I was putting in my body was contributing to it just as much, if not equally, to maybe how my mind was reacting, was really important for me to understand.
And how does it feel to not binge eat anymore?
Oh my gosh. I could cry, but I'm not going to. It's when you have something that has such a visceral control over your life to go through your day and not have it sitting on your shoulder or just right behind you all the time. It's so incredibly freeing. I wish I had a better word for it, but yeah, it's incredible. My heart goes out to everybody who struggles with this because it is not, um, first of all, it's not your fault. Second of all, it is hard to overcome. It's really, really difficult. I think there's more and more research coming out about binge eating disorder and just like the number of people who struggle. Like it's really cool, but it feels like I have my life back. Like I can make decisions for myself and live in alignment with who I know I am and who I want to be. So that's how it feels.
Amazing. That's perfect. And How did it feel when we got hormone tests back and went through them together? And I didn't say everything was normal. We actually identified that there was quite a few things going on.
Yeah. So one of the things about working with you that I love is that you hold people accountable for what's going on in their life. So when we initially did my first hormones 6 months earlier and then did them again, and we saw that they had not improved in the way we were hoping, it kind of made me need to reflect back on what my life had been like, what my lifestyle had been like. And while I do think there was a lot of healing, it was more my body's way of saying, this is deeper than that. This has been going on for a very long time, and it's going to take a long time to fully heal and transform from what I had put my body through for years and years. So it didn't feel good. Obviously, I wanted everything to be better. I think we would love to say, oh, this is the thing that's going to fix me. But I think what working with you has helped me understand is that it's not about fixing. Like, my body is beautiful and perfect. I'm beautiful and perfect in my soul and inside and out, just the way I am. And it's more about honoring and respecting where my body is and what I've been through every day, more than it is about healing necessarily.
Yeah, and that it does take time to heal. And I think it's so important we be patient with the journey, because sometimes that second round of testing will come back better, and sometimes it won't, because there is more internal mindset, emotional work to do, like people pleasing, not putting so much into schedules, not overwhelming ourselves so much. And the tests don't lie. Right. So it's just a great learning opportunity. And I'm so glad that it helped you just see the depth of what's there, but that you're so open to working on it, because that's the key. You're totally going to get where you want to go because of your commitment.
Yeah, I thank you. I hope so. And I agree. And I believe in myself, but I think a lot of people, it'll resonate that like having a booked schedule is the way that our society navigates life. Like, that's, you're rewarded for being busy. You're rewarded for being overwhelmed and overloaded. You're rewarded for always being the person that people can rely on. And at least you're rewarded externally, but internally, like, what are you sacrificing? What are you giving up? And that's an important question that I've had to ask myself. You know, one thing you and I spoke about was that I love being that person that people can rely on. I love being the person to spend time with other people. But where is that becoming a self-sabotaging behavior? Where is it appropriate to step up and be that for other people? And then when is it important to step up and be there for myself? And going into this program, I didn't understand what that was. I still think I'm figuring that out, like what it means to be there for myself. And I think that's something that I'll always be learning a little bit more and more. But I think that was one of the biggest transformative things that came out of us redoing my hormones, was just realizing, like, okay, there's another layer to this that I need to consider.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I commend you for your openness to really deal with it, because that's what's going to give us the biggest expansive healing, is being willing to look at it. So that piece was really, really, really important for us to explore. And how else did this support you with your physical health, your mental, intuitive? Anything else you want to share about how this support helped you?
Oh, there's so many things I want to share. I know I said it at the beginning, but just to say it again, having somebody to talk to about what you're experiencing is so incredibly powerful. You know, being somebody who's a people pleaser, you look outside of yourself a lot to, you know, how others are either acting around you or how they're doing. And you put a lot of emphasis on that, and you lose sight of, you know, what's important to me. What does it look like to support myself? And one thing that you did was challenge me in that way. And not only just challenged me, but you gave me tools, which, you know, I maybe some other people can relate to this, but, you know, looking online and reading articles or listening to other people's podcasts, like, by the end of it, you're like, okay, but what does that mean for me? Like, how that's great. That's a great idea. How do I implement that in my
Mhm.
life? And I'm not, some people who maybe read a book and say, that's great. I got everything I need and I can just go forth on my path. I'm not that person. I need that connection with another human being to say, hey, I don't think I'm doing that well this week, or hey, I have a question. I never felt silly for asking you a question, which is another thing that I think can be really hard for people pleasers, is to say, I don't know the answer to this, and maybe I should, but
Mhm.
I'm going to ask anyway. And your loving guiding support and just openness was really detrimental in helping me feel okay to not be perfect, um, which is really, really powerful. And I appreciate a lot.
My pleasure. And yeah, it's safe for us to be ourselves and be human. Why would you recommend this support?
From my perspective, doing it yourself can maybe work for some people, but 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna be long lasting. Um, Working with somebody and having that connection is indispensable to your healing journey. Just even having the power to say, I need help outside of myself is really incredible. And if if you're struggling and you don't know where else to go, I mean, that's how I felt when I came to you. I was like, this is a Hail Mary. I don't know where else to go. I've talked to my doctors, I've talked to my friends, I've listened to I listened to the podcasts, not yours necessarily, but just so many. And there's so much information out there to sift through, and there's so many people out there who, I don't know, it can get really confusing. And so have to have a person to say, hey, like, you're my fact checker, like, you're the person that I can go to bounce this off of, and to say, hey, does this thing I'm thinking make sense? And to lend your guidance was indispensable in my healing journey, and I know for so many others. So I think I would say why I recommend this support is because it's truly like the first step to healing, the healing journey of our lives. It's continual healing. Um, and the and being able to say, hey, I can't do this myself. What a relief for my body to say, I can't do this myself. She was like, girl, we know. We've been telling you. You've tried all the workout plans, you've tried all the things. So yeah, I would recommend it. If you're feeling lost, which is how I felt, I would recommend seeking support always.
Agreed 100%. Um, how did the so we you talked about like that you had tools, you were equipped with tools to help you. What were your favorite tools, and how are they going to help you just through life even as well?
So, well, first of all, in our sessions, you always gave me something to go from, whether it was even just like the talking me through the supplements and talking me through like what I needed to do to support myself. That's a tool. Like, I didn't have that. I didn't have access to that in my world. So that was the first tool that we discussed. Like, hey, we're going to get you on the support. Again, saying like, I can't do this necessarily myself. My body needs support. Here's one way to support. But a lot of like the tapping was a big one that we discussed, and meditation, and the guided meditations were really helpful at the beginning. As I have attention deficit disorder, and so slowing down and focusing my mind, my body, my energy was really important for me to begin to heal. I'm still working on that. But I also love the access to all the master classes that you provide through your program. I mean, explaining the different ways that inflammation shows up and affects your body. We even talked about the ways that ADHD is impacted by what we eat, what we do, sleep. Understanding the cycles of sleep was so incredibly important. Now when I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, I wonder what's going wrong with me right now. What time is it? How can I so I think it's the biggest thing is there are so many physical tools you've given me, but I think just having guidance, the tools to guide myself through my everyday, that is what I was looking for and needed, I think, the most, and what I got. So
amazing. Is there anything else you want to share?
Just that I appreciate your presence and your openness and willingness to be honest and to also ask good questions and hard questions. I think that going into this program, I didn't realize how spiritual it would be, and not necessarily like spiritual in a religious sense, but spiritual in a way that for a long time there was like my brain, which was myself, my consciousness, and then there was my body, which was like this tool, like robot that I would go out into the world, and I would think of it as separate entities, right? Like, why is my body doing this? Why is my body so tired? Why is my body so inflamed? And what I realized through this program was that I am all of this. This is all me. And having that connection to face the problems as like a whole unit, a whole thing, was really, really powerful to me. And like I said, if you're considering support, I couldn't recommend it enough. It was really scary for me to seek out support for a number of reasons, like emotionally, mentally. I didn't want to admit it that I couldn't do myself, but also, you're investing in yourself, and that's scary, you know? So whatever that support looks like, I recommend talking to Amber, but whatever that looks like for you, please don't be afraid to we have this one big, beautiful life. And living in fear, living in shame you don't have to live that way.
So. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of this in your heart with me. And it's been a pleasure supporting you. And I'm so grateful we could spend this time together. And you are such a light. So keep doing what you're doing.
So grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you.